I think last time I talked a little bit about um, keyframing, and so that's the
Okay.
next point that I want to get into.
Okay.
So keyframing, basically, the concept is you're taking an adjustment or an element, and you're making it do something different over time of the clip. Okay, so you can basically every single element in Final Cut has a um, keyframing option. So this is the easiest one, and this is basically going to be a kind of not automatic version of the Ken Burnsing thing. But
Mhm.
so let's say I want at this point in the clip, I put my playhead here. I want this to start to move to the right. So what I can do is at wherever I want the um, keyframe to start, I go over here and these little target.
Sorry, by move to the right, you mean the whole picture, or what do you mean by move to the right?
Yeah, the whole picture, the whole
Okay,
element.
okay,
So
okay.
this
Yeah.
clip that I have selected, I'm going to move it to the right. So
Okay.
basically, I can take my position and I'm just going to move it to the right. So I want to start it here, right? And this is my starting point. So I add a keyframe here at this
Mhm.
point. Now I'm going to move down into time, and at this point, I want it to stop moving. Okay, so this is where it's going to stop moving to the right and be in the position that I put it in. Okay,
Okay.
so this
And
is
how do you get into keyframe mode again?
so keyframes are just these little dots over here.
Okay.
So as soon as you put the first keyframe in and
Hmm.
you move into time, it's going to, and then you adjust it at that point in time, then
Hmm.
it's going to put it at that point within the, like it's going to automatically. So you can kind of
Oh,
see,
it
so
goes the window. Yeah, it slowly moves across.
yeah. So
Okay.
also look up here at the values of the X right
Hmm.
here. So it's 0, 0, 0 as I go into time because it hasn't started yet.
Hmm.
Okay, still 0. And now I hit my keyframe. Okay, so
Yeah.
now it's starting to automatically move up. So there's only 2 points. There's one point right here, and there's one point right here. Okay, and then as I move, it automatically, you can see up here in the X value, it's just filling in all the blanks, right? So at this point, now it stops. Okay, so now I have it, move to the right, and then it stops, and then it'll just be whatever it is after that. I can do so, and then so this is where you can actually see your keyframes. So I put in the first one, and like I said, you just move into time wherever you want the next one to be, and then you do your adjustment. Make sure your playhead is where you want the next keyframe to be, because that's where it's going to fill in. That's where it gets a little confusing. If you don't put your playhead where you need it to be, then it's going to put it wherever it is, and that's not necessarily where you want it to be, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The playhead is the white one, right?
yep. Yeah,
Okay.
and then this is just like kind of a selection tool where you can
Yeah.
see the red one. So now I can toggle between. Now I have two keyframes because at this point I have a keyframe down. So now I can toggle in between my keyframes to adjust them with this little arrow, right? See my scroll over says previous keyframe right there. So now I can click that, and now it's going to go back to that first keyframe, and I can go in between the two and adjust it. So if I didn't go far enough to the right with this, I just click over. Now my playhead's where my second keyframe is.
Mhm.
Now I can just adjust it, right? And I can even go up. I can do a second adjustment on it. So now it's going up, and now it's
Mhm.
going to do kind of a diagonal move, right?
Yeah. So that's for the X and Y. I'm looking at, rotation, scale. Can you keyframe multiple stuff simultaneously?
Yeah, you can keyframe basically anything, and it doesn't have to be just these adjustment tools over here. So let's go into. Let me reset, or actually, I won't reset it.
You
I'll
probably
just
do like the crop too, right? I'm looking down. There's like that little
yeah.
diamond piece
So
with
so
crop.
not with these transitions, but with these like with the effects you can. So
Oh, nice.
let's go to the like a blur. So this is actually a tool that I do frequently use. Instead of like a fade out, I'll use a blur out or whatever. So this is just my Gaussian blur effect that I have, and you can see it's not really adjusting. So let me go to the beginning of the clip. Use my snapping function. So that was just Command N. I go to the beginning of the clip, and now my playhead's at the very beginning. And I go up to my Gaussian, and I drop it down all the way to 0. But I haven't put any keyframes in yet. So throughout the whole clip, it's just at 0,
Yeah.
0 value for the Gaussian blur. Okay. But I don't want it to blur until I get to like right here. Okay. So now I can go up. now I have my playhead right where I want to start the keyframe, and I click my first keyframe, and I wanted to start at 0, and then go up to, let me just go. Sometimes you click the last frame, you got to go back one, and I just use the left and right arrows to go. The left and right arrows take you one frame either way. Okay, so so I just moved back one frame, so it's at the last frame of this clip, and then now I can bump up my Gaussian blur, so it's at 100. So now if I go over my clip, it's going to be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then as soon as I hit this point right here, then it's going to start to blur out. Okay? So you can do it with any of these effects down here. You can do it with any of the adjustments over here in the panel. I don't think you can do it with your transitions. The things that you can adjust with your transitions is basically I put in this transition with this clip, and now I can just zoom, I can pull it out like I'm pulling out like an adjustment on the clip. You remember how I showed you that this is like refining, like if I use my cut tool and then I need to actually come back in here and pull it out a little bit. So the same thing with your transitions. So if I need to make this transition a little bit longer, then that's what I do with that. And it's taking a second to render, so it's not going to really show up. But so that just extends out how long the transition takes.
Yeah. Quick question for the keyframe. In order to do like a double move, you have to basically cut the clip and then keyframe from the new section of the clip.
Nope. You can do multiple keyframes within the same clip. So just like I was doing with.
No, but I mean like when you change the X and the Y, it went diagonally rather than if you want something to go like up and then left, would you have to change the clip?
Nope, you don't have to. It's just two different commands. So we'll start this one back over. So if I want to if I want to reset my positions in my keyframes, I just hit this little reset button to the right of my keyframes, and that's also, be careful with that one because you can accidentally, instead of doing a keyframe, you can reset the whole thing. But you just command Z, command undo to go back. So now I'm resetting the whole clip as far as the position and goes. So you want the image to go up, or you said go right and then up, right? Like
rather than up and rather than diagonal.
Right.
How do you do the
double? So what I'm gonna do is I'll do one keyframe right here to start the move, and then this will be the end of my first move. So now I've gone a little bit in time, and let me go right. Okay. So now we go right. And let me drop in, I think what you would have to do is, okay. So, and then I go a little bit further in time, and now I want to go up. So now I go up, and I think that should work. Okay, that did a diagonal. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go back to my second keyframe
and end it.
And make sure that my Y coordinates stay the same. So if I punch that in, I think it's made a keyframe for it. So yeah, there it goes. So now we have it, okay?
Okay, so how can you explain that again real quick?
Yeah. Okay, so let me reset it. So we're at 0, 0. So first I need to go to the right. That's easy. We know how to do that. See, so I need to do my first keyframe at 0, 0, and now I go to the right, go into time a little bit, and then go right. Okay. So the reason that it didn't work the first time is because I didn't punch in 0 as what I wanted it to be. I just left it as like this kind of default. I think if I do 0, it recognizes that I put in, okay, I want this X coordinate and I want 0 as my Y coordinate, and it makes a keyframe for it, right? So at this point in time, it understands that I wanted Y at 0 instead of just a default value, because otherwise it's gonna do basically a keyframe for Y right here and a keyframe for Y at the end, and then just fill in the rest, right? But now I put in a keyframe for Y at 0 right here, so it's gotta go 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, till it gets to this point, and now it starts climbing as it
Okay.
goes to the next keyframe. So now I go into time and do my Y coordinates up, and then that should be it. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so let's make sure that rendered out right. Goes to the right, hits that keyframe. Now, right here, it's gonna start going up, and there it goes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect.
Are you on mute?
No, can you hear me?
I don't think I can hear you.
I think you turned off your volume.
All right, thumbs up if that was good.
Turn
Cool.
up your volume.
All right, so on to the next thing. Here we go. So that was keyframing. The other ones, okay, yeah, text. So another thing that you're gonna likely use Final Cut for is like for titles. Like if you need to,
You see that?
oh, did you put something in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, my volume is off.
Is
Okay.
that better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I didn't recognize that, but when I hit 0 earlier, I saw that pop up. Okay, cool. So let me reset this. Let's go into text now. Reset the position. So now I need to put, let's say, for example, this is a clip. This clip right here is somebody being interviewed, right? So now I need to go in and I need to put in some titles. So in my Final Cut, I think different versions, the titles are in different places. But for me, it's up here, okay? So this brings up my title generator. And basically you have a lot of different options, like you have different effects and different transitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each of these does something a little bit different. This one does some kind of like, almost like a little fade in. This is like 3D text. You have like this is kind of a little bit more involved, and basically you adjust them all the same way. You have the Star Wars thing right here.
Yeah.
So we'll just go with something kind of easy, just so you can get a basic grasp of it. So I just, same way that I would do like an effects, I just kind of click and drag it and then drop it into my timeline. And remember, this works in the layers. So make sure if you need the
It has to be on top, huh?
Yep, make sure it's on top, okay? So now I need to adjust it. So I select it, and now I can come up here to the top and of my adjustment players panel and start to adjust it. So I actually always start with like the actual text. So if I need this to be Duke Croy as your title, you know, if it's like an interview or something like that, I need maybe on one line Duke Croy, and next line I needed to be defender number 14. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can actually, just like I would in a text editor, I would highlight the text, and then I can scale it down, or I can make it a different font, or whatever. I mean, you've seen this before, right? So like the alignment, whatever I needed that to be. And I can also just click and drag this little text box. That's pretty much all it is at this point, is just a little text box. I can click and drag it to where it needs to be. And once again, you have keyframes over here that you can start working on, I think.
And you can put effects like on a video to that text.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then obviously so you can adjust the like font over here in the text adjustment layer. Like if I needed to scale up, the overall text of this, but let's say I wanted to adjust the whole thing, I still have the adjustment panel that I would for like a normal clip, and I can scale the whole thing up like that. And then you can once again mess around with the keyframes. So it's just two different ways of doing the same thing, basically.
Okay, nice.
So now you have all these options. You go back into your rotations and whatever else. You can do, if you need like a drop shadow on it to separate it from the background. See that, put a little dark line on it, and kind of blur that out, make it a little bit bigger, whatever you need to do.
Okay. Oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So so now we have that adjusted. I can actually, so since this was a fade in kind of effect, that's something you can also adjust when you go over into the, I don't know what the difference between what they call this editor and what they call this editor, but basically this is adjusting the effect that's on the text title generator thing, whatever. So I can, if I need to, I can, if I don't want it to like build in, I just want it to kind of build out. So let me show you what it looks like before. See, it kind of does that. It's really quick.
Yeah, super quick.
Digs in.
Can
And
you stretch the length of time on that?
yep. So I want to duration. I want to lengthen the duration of that. So now I go up to whatever the maximum is on it. So now it's a little bit slower.
Okay. Yeah.
Or if I wanted to make it quicker, obviously, yeah. So instead of doing left to right, I could do right to left, I think. Yeah, I can do backwards. So now it's going to come in from the back. Oh. Let's see here. Well, that didn't really work, did it?
That should. It looks like that's the area to do it.
Yeah.
Because the ends would be like in to out, right?
Yeah. Let's see. Maybe it didn't have it rendered. Let's see. Let's go back to the backwards. And see now you can see. Remember, I talked about that last time. These little dots up here is actually it rendering out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that still didn't work. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that. I might be. Oh, this. Okay. Oh, okay. I see what. This is the in direction. This is the fade in direction, and this is the fade out direction.
Oh,
So
fade out backwards. Yeah.
So now it's fading out from the backwards, but now I need to do fade in from the backwards. So there we go. That's what.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So each of these, actually, this is where it gets a little confusing because each of these effects don't have the same adjustments when you go over into the little publish editor thing over here to the right. So you just kind of have to mess with it, to be honest.
Yeah.
You'll have a lot of them that's like build in, build out. You can click if you just want it to appear to start and then maybe fade out or something like that. You can do that and then obviously adjust the in speed, out speed, whatever you need. But a lot of them are kind of different. Okay.
Yeah. I think I had some practice with PowerPoint, so I think I can. It's kind of similar, but just the format's different, obviously. But
all right, so I think this is about getting towards the end. I'll show you. I think I have two more things in mind that I wanted to show you. So the first one is other modifiers, and basically other modifiers just comes down to like timing type stuff. So let me get into a clip of. These are all slow motion ones. All right, that'll be that'll be a good one. Okay, so let me do this clip right here. Drag and drop it into my timeline. Maybe. There you go. Okay, so don't need that. So now I have this clip. Let me detach audio. So now I have this clip, and I want to make it. I want to make it speed up, right? Like this is the normal time, but I only want to make it speed up between here and here. Okay. So let me go up to my modifier. Actually, let me adjust my playhead first. I want it between start to here, and I want to do retime. And basically, you can see all the options that you have available. You have slow motion. You can have speed up. You can have, revert back to the normal speed it was. Hold, which is basically like pause. Blade speed, which is what I want to do for this one. And then you have some other ones where it's kind of automatically going to do it for you. So instant replay, like plays the clip, and then I'll rewind it, and then I'll play it again, okay? So this is, to get to here, I'm going to modify and then retime. So this is, I said I wanted to speed it up between here. So I just blade speed right there and right here, okay? I want to make it faster. So let me go back up, retime, blade speed again, okay? And you can also do that by, I think that was just Command B, no. Modify, retime, Shift B, okay. So I can do Command Shift B, and there we go, I can retime it, okay? So basically exactly, I just showed you what I was wanting to do, but so after you blade the speed, now you can pull on your little tabs and speed them up. So if I wanted to go at 200% the speed, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to go normal speed, normal speed, normal speed. and then goes a little quicker. So this is not a great clip to do an example on, but actually I just don't think it's rendered out, but you get the concept. So so that's basically your slow motion, and your fast motion is to go up, and you can also do the same by doing hard cuts. So if I just did an actual, that's just a general cut, and I wanted to speed this up, I can go to my modify, and then faster, do 50%. Oh, that was slower. Modify time, revert back to normal. I can now take that and I can go faster. Okay. So any questions about that? That's pretty straightforward, to be honest. Okay. So I think this is, what's up, Hugh? I think he's on mute. So.
What's good, James? How are you?
Good, man. So the last thing that I can really kind of give to you is Final Cut is not limited by the stuff that's in here. So basically, they make outside plugins that do a certain command or a certain effect, or basically they're add-ons to what's already in Final Cut. So if you wanted a different type of transition, there's these kind of packs out there where you can download them, install them into Final Cut. That's a whole big process. You're gonna have to YouTube it because I don't remember exactly how to do it. But then you just kind of have new transitions that are in your Final Cut that you can use over and over and over without maybe having to do keyframes or different effects and stuff like that. So I'll just show you an example of one pack that I put on. Is I have these it's kind of like a zoom transition. And just so you can kind of see what that looks like. We'll put in this guy. Okay. And actually, for some reason, when I installed it, it wanted to put these into the title generator ones. So these are things that I brought outside of Final Cut to add on to the stuff that I already have. So this is zoom in 1 transition, zoom in 2 transition, and then you can put in a little bit of motion blur, which just kind of makes it look a little smoother. Right here, and I'll put that over the transition, and it'll take a second to render. Any questions of anything you guys want to see me do, or things that you've seen, like how do you do something like this or whatever?
So yeah, kind of actually. But I want to see this first. Looks like it's done rendering, I think.
Yeah, it's almost done. It might play, or it might not. Ooh, battery's almost done. So this, and then there you go. So this is, I didn't have to do any keyframes or anything like that, but you can kind of see what's going on there. It like zooms the first image and then shoots the second image up. Okay, so like this is just an example of a plugin you can go get. I don't know where I got this one, but there's tons of stuff out there. So if you YouTube how do I do this thing, you might it might be able to show you how to do that within the elements that you already have in Final Cut, or you might have to download something and you get a really cool effect that goes with it or something. So,
yeah. So
that's basically it. That's kind of my general 3-part knowledge of Final Cut. So what did you want to see me do?
So like in a hypothetical scenario, if you want to like change, like put the logo on something. So you have this Independence logo and you want to put it on like a soccer ball or something and make it look like someone, like it would be really tough to do if someone's like dribbling a soccer ball through a frame, but maybe like in a slow motion, like the soccer ball is like rotating and then the logo comes and shows itself. Is there anything you can do with that? I think you'd have to use keyframes with like the rotation and the transparency on a soccer ball is what I feel like, but maybe if you give me like an indication on something like that.
So I would recommend using a different program. It's actually called After Effects. And it's way more advanced because that gets into more like a graphic type thing. But if I'm understanding your question, so like here, I'll do this example for like this clip. Okay, so like let's say we wanted to put a logo on, let me reset all this. Like a logo on the ball as it moves through yeah. So the way that you would do that in Final Cut is use keyframes. But honestly, in After Effects, it's way more advanced, and you can use something called Frodo Tracking. And basically, it's going to do what I talked about with the stabilization, and it's going to take a point that maybe is on the edge of the ball where it knows it's going to have like contrast. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's going to just track that. And then it knows, okay, I need to attach this position of this element to that point. Final Cut can't do that. It's not robust enough. But you can achieve something similar by doing just keyframes. So let's go to the first point where we see the ball. So, okay, this is the first frame where it really shows up. So now I can trim my clip so that it starts right there. And now I can adjust my X and Y. That it's like over top of that. So there we go. If I wanted, I do my first keyframe right there, and it's going to be a little bit harder because the camera's moving and the ball is moving.
Yeah,
it's not going to be so clean. So now I can go a little point in time, like right there, and I got my playhead. So let's move it down where the ball is. And like, let's see how clean that is. And you're about to see why this is not a great tool to use for that. So you see, like it comes off the ball at some points because it's just the logo is just doing the keyframe motion. It's got no relation to what's going on in the actual clip, which After Effects does understand that. But you can go back and so this is where it comes off. So now I've already got keyframes, so I don't have to worry about putting in another keyframe. But let's say I can just kind of manually adjust it. And I'm basically putting in another keyframe because I adjusted where, it thought it should be down here, but I put in another keyframe because I adjusted the values in here. So maybe that makes it a little bit smoother. Maybe it actually works. Oh, I rendered out.
All right. But so After Effects, just download it?
It's an Adobe product. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
You can get a free trial, and that's going to take more than a 3-part class for me to teach you.
To figure out. I think I'll just try to mess around with it. I don't know if I need anything that serious. I was just thinking like if I needed like if I have something like this and the water bottle, like it was initially this logo and then you're like rotating it slowly or something like that, like coming across. I don't know if I want to like put a logo and track a soccer ball or anything like that, but I think I'd use more slower paced.
So After Effects is only keyframes basically.
Okay.
It's all about keyframes because it's more about graphics and it's about this element changes into this element as time goes on. Yeah. Where Final Cut is more about the clips, about the video elements and stuff like that. The graphics and the overlays and stuff like that. It's not too worried about that stuff. So you can get the job done. But
and if I were to download something from After Effects, like put something from After Effects into Final Cut, it would just come as a video.
Yep, that's After Effects will. I meant to show you that example, but because you asked last time about like transparent pixels in a video.
Yeah.
So go back and look. I'll send you the video, but I might have it in here. Let's see. What is this? Oh no, that's different. Oh yeah. Okay. These projects. These projects. Okay, so like this was the little profile thing that I did. This little crest build clip right here is actually a video with transparent pixels that I made in